Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. We are doing another live presentation, and we're going to have some great things today. On today's show, my guest is Livesay with Uplevel Systems. I once again have an Uplevel appliance that I will be working with for a few months and checking things out. I've got some other things lined up there, and I have a quick housekeeping segment with Freedom Voice and Intermedia. So that's going to be the show today. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Podnuts Pro. I am your host, Marvin B., and I want to say thank you for tuning in and either watching or listening to the show. Podnuts Pro is a podcast for techs, small and large, solo and multi-million MSPs, anything that we can do to help you run your business so that you can support business in the IT world. That's what we're going to do. So, Robin, I introduced you right before the thing. Robin with Uplevel Systems joining us once again. How are you doing, Robin?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good, good. Hopefully the weather's pretty good there over in Florida. This is the perfect time of year for y'all.
I'm sorry, what?
It's the perfect weather time of year for you in Florida, right?
So if you mean waking up to degrees of 45 to 48 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
No.
Yeah, a bit colder than I was expecting. I was assuming I were still in the 50s, 60s, right? That perfect time of year. But the rest of us are fairly miserable and in rain and sleet.
Yeah, so basically, we've had 2 nights in a row with that. Now, yesterday it stayed in the 50s. Today it got up to 65.
Okay. So pretty beautiful.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to be leaving now that it's warming back up. I'm going to be leaving and heading up to the good state of Georgia.
Okay.
I will be heading up to the mountains there. And I believe that the highs will be in the 40s, in the lows in the 20s or something like that.
Oh, wow. All righty. Well, we're going to wish you luck on that one.
Yep. I'm going to be checking the weather tonight as I start to unpack all my winter clothing.
Yeah, this is certainly when I am not jealous of all of my Northeast, Northwest friends. This is the time of year I'm fairly glad to be down in the South. So
Yep.
Georgia's different though. Georgia has some elevation apparently and some chilly weather.
Some places it does.
Yeah.
So joy there. And I should probably go ahead and let listeners know, if you catch the show before this weekend, I am flying in on Friday, flying out on Sunday, doing my quick duck and dive as I usually do. But I do have somebody, we are actually trying to set up a quick little visit. So a listener, I'm not going to say their name and jinx the visit and call them out, but we are trying to set something up. So if you are near the Atlanta, Georgia area where I'm flying into, and you are near Marietta or I just forgot the name. It's near Ranger, but it's somewhere up there. But those are the places that I will be flying in Friday, flying out Sunday. So if you're in that area and you want to do a quick visit, lunch or something, cup of coffee or a drink on the way out, let me know. I don't want to be accused of, showing up and not letting people know I was in the area.
And I can be of no help for Georgia geography over here in terms of town names. So
yeah, it's all north. Basically, the airport is south of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Marietta is to the northwest, and the mountain place to where I'm going is basically due north.
Okay.
Like in between Marietta and Cumming, Georgia.
Okay.
Which, if that doesn't help you, don't worry about it.
Certainly doesn't help me, but my Atlanta knowledge is slight, and the further outside of Atlanta you go, the worse it gets. So,
Yep,
but
yep, that's pretty much it. So yeah, and even last year I had to make a visit to Rome, Georgia,
wow.
and that is in the very far reaches of the Northwest.
Okay.
Just to give people an idea, beautiful area.
Yeah.
Don't want to live there.
Well, we have plenty of those here down in Texas too. Don't you worry. You can find plenty of pretty little areas all over the place around here.
That is true. That is true. So, Robin, I know we got some good stuff to get to, but before we
Yeah.
do that, I want to make sure I take care of some old business and
Yes.
some new business. And in the old business category, I got a couple of questions since last week's podcast where people were asking what exactly is going on with Freedom Voice. And even today, I got a question where somebody asked, is Freedom Voice going out of business?
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to say the answer to that is no. And in short, Freedom Voice is a part of GoDaddy. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be around. And after their announcement last week, I did get some clarification. And for the most part, what they're doing is either pausing or stopping any new business to do with the partner program. So if you are a partner now and you have clients, no worries, no changes. The only difference is you won't be able to add clients in the future as of March 1st of 2021. And if you are not a partner now, you won't be able to become a partner until they do whatever they're going to do. Yeah, reinstate it, stop the pause. I don't know what the plans are. They didn't really explain what the plans are. We'll figure that out later.
Mm-hmm.
As for me, I did explain that I have 2 customers that are on Freedom Voice that I do need to move, and they would have had to have been moved anyway because of the fact that Freedom Voice does not have the busy lamp feature, that little thing where you can see if somebody's on the phone. Huge deal for my law firm. So those were going to be moved anyway. And I have other customers that I will give them the choice. Right now, they're happy. I've had no real issues with Freedom Voice outside of that busy lamp field. I've not had the out of service issues that some people have had. People like the phones, people like the quality, people definitely love the support.
Mm-hmm.
So the support of Freedom Voice has been fantastic. So I'll just give them the choice. If they want to stay, they can stay, and I'll keep supporting them on Freedom Voice. I've got no issues, like I said, but if they want to move, I will move them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having said that, as we move into the new business category, I ported phones today, not from Freedom Voice, but from my other provider that I have here at my office. And I ported numbers from there to Intermedia. And after a long discussion with Jason Miller some time ago, I had decided, well, I will start to make the transition to Intermedia. And if I had to say one way or the other, today was a bad day. The port did not go well. So I'm going to reserve judgment. I'm going to give it a few days. I'm going to rest on it, but I just need to, be open and honest and transparent with everybody. As gung-ho as I was on Intermedia, after today, I was not. And just to give you a quick rundown of what happened, up until today, I had the new phones out. I was forwarding numbers. I was taking calls. Everything was great. But at the time of the port, everything stopped working. And I had customers emailing me saying that either they were getting dead air, they were getting a message that the old number was disconnected, or it would ring and disconnect, or do it a busy signal.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent basically an hour and a half on the phone with Intermedia and did not get that stellar support that I was looking for. So I'm going to hold a little judgment. I did, have a quick call with Jason Miller, and he said that, look, he had a couple of those issues, maybe 2, but Jason Miller installs, hundreds of phones a month. He is the Miller, the golden boy. Things happen for him that just don't happen for everybody else. So I'm going to, let it sit, let it simmer. I'll work with the phones, and, if everything shakes out, no big deal, but I'll let everybody know and keep everybody updated. So that was my joyful day. Basically 2 hours of no calls for a while, and that was fun.
Yeah, it's certainly not fun. I mean, this really just goes to show the amount of support that's needed to help MSPs. It sounds like it was your office, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it in front of a client?
And I always do my office first with anything,
Mhm.
just so that I can go through the joys and the headaches ahead of time and know what to expect.
Mhm.
It had this happen at a customer. And here's the thing, porting numbers, there's always, weird little things with it. It can be
Always.
rejected. But my issue was that the port happened at 1:15 in the afternoon.
Did you know about that beforehand?
Well, I kind of didn't. Like,
Mhm.
I knew today was the day, but I didn't get a time,
Mhm.
which always frustrates me. And even with, Freedom Voice, 8x8, Vonage, the other companies that I've worked with, you at least have a time frame that that numbers are going to be ported. A lot of times it's overnight.
Mhm.
By the time you come in the next morning, you're already on the new phones and stuff. I didn't get a time. I just got a date. And I assumed it would be early in the morning. There you go, making assumptions, right?
Yeah.
But at 1:15, I saw the email, hey, your numbers are ported. And I was like, oh, cool. So I quickly grabbed my cell phone, called from outside to the number, nothing. And that started the joy.
That started the joy. I mean, like I said, this is really where, because things happen, things are always going to happen, whether it's a phone porting issue, whether it's, a firewall configuration issue, whether it's fun stuff that you didn't know was on the network. There's always going to be issues. But this is really where vendor support kind of shines or doesn't.
Yep. So we'll see how it goes. I'll keep everybody updated. And speaking of new equipment,
Mhm.
you probably can't see, but behind me is an Uplevel box. Let me get back here. It's gonna sound awkward on radio, but on TV you're gonna see me walk away from the mic.
There she is.
So once again, I have an Uplevel Systems appliance.
There you go. We love it.
So, and I've got the 101A model, which is a 1 terabyte NAS inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be trying this out. How long do I have this for?
I believe I set it up until the end of the year, but I'm a quick phone call away to change.
Into this year?
The end of this year.
Oh, well, that doesn't give me.
I know, which at the time back in November sounded like an eternity. Now here we are.
Yeah.
Where's the year gone? But
especially now that I have to leave. Yeah, we're gonna have to extend that because I'm leaving this weekend.
Like I said, if only you had a contact into the company who might have some influence over that.
Only I knew somebody.
No.
So,
we're excited for you to test it out.
Okay. So let's go ahead and move into why I got the appliance. There are some new features.
There are new features.
When we were last on back in August, and if you did not hear that show, folks, we're talking about show number 291. And right at the time of that show, you had released firmware 4.0.
Mm-hmm.
There were some other wonderful changes that had happened in how you can purchase the appliance. So how much has changed since then?
Yeah, so I should probably take a step back and say we started off the year by introducing the Active Directory domain controller functionality, the LDAP implementation directly into the gateway. And since then, things have not slowed down. So over the course of the year, we've been introducing all kinds of things, including the 4.0 release and all of the fun functionality there, the purchase agreement or the purchase option, I'm sorry, for customers to actually purchase equipment rather than subscribe to it. There have been a whole slew of things that have come out just over 2020, which is crazy to think about. But today we're actually introducing 3 really main pieces of new firmware. And this is just 100% a firmware release. We're not pushing out any new equipment. So if you have an existing Uplevel gateway already, you can receive the new firmware without having to do any sort of swapping or software downloads. We'll automatically push the firmware updates based on our communications with the partner and when that's scheduled for. So with all of that being said, the 3 new functionality pieces are really focused around distributed networks and remote workers, and making it much easier for MSPs to manage those. So not only to interconnect employees together, but then MSP management on top of it. So first and foremost is actually going to be the management only traffic that is now pushed over in a failover mode. So now MSPs have the option to toggle between a true failover mode where they may have employee traffic and clear traffic going over the internet connection on the failover, and now to just have a management only silo of that. So in the event that the customer does not want to keep a secondary ISP or an LTE connection, or they just don't find the need for using an LTE connection because the speeds are too slow, whatever the circumstances might be, MSPs still have the option to push only management traffic over it. So now they can log into the gateway remotely, even when everything is offline, power cycle some remotely connected surge protectors, some IoT surge protectors, log into the gateway, make sure the CPU is good, make sure that there's nothing overheating, that the gateway is actually functioning properly. You can power cycle it. You can even remote into the ISP modem to power cycle it if there was any sort of outage that might have happened or things like that. So it makes those simple troubleshooting issues of outages much easier for the MSPs.
Okay, so
That's number 1.
Management traffic only for us.
Correct.
This is not something that we would give access to the end user, right?
Well, by design, it only pushes the management of the Uplevel gateway through, right? Okay. So only things coming over the management VPN tunnel are allowed out. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Sweet. So that's number 1. That's the first new piece of functionality. The second is enhanced point-to-point VPN connections. So we've increased both the speed and the reliability of the VPN connections in the Uplevel gateway by introducing essentially 2 redundant VPN models. The first is going to be a point-to-point VPN connection. So anytime you have multiple Uplevel gateways together, they'll automatically point-to-point in a mesh mode together for fast speeds to make it really easy to interconnect when employees are sitting behind multiple gateways together. They get the faster speeds. They don't have to worry about latency. But as a failover mode, we've also introduced a hub and spoke model. So that there's a hub based in the VM and the cloud that then allows all the different gateways wherever they are to connect into. And in the event that one fails, there's no failure on the holistic circuit, right? So it makes it both faster and more reliable. Really important, especially considering the fact that right now we have so many remote users that are struggling with internet connections and the reliability of those connections, but also the speeds. So it kind of plays into both of those by having 2 different redundant VPN models that are automatically configured when you have site-to-site VPN turned on an Uplevel gateway.
All right. Is this an enhancement of the VPN that's already there, or is this completely new?
Correct. So we essentially created a double layer, if you will, two stacked VPN model and added just that secondary layer on top to add the additional speed and redundancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And SSL or IPsec or?
It's an IPsec VPN. Yeah, correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Not that I'm going to worry about it, but some techno geek will ask.
Yeah, certainly. Correct. It is.
All right. So sweet. And it sounds, now you made the comment that it would be automatic. So is it something where if you are setting this up, you just identify what appliances are in your network, in which offices, and is it like, point and click, and they automatically configure?
Yeah. So what happens is whenever you have a customer configured with an Uplevel gateway, so if they have 1 site or 10 sites, it'll have a VM, right? And you'll see that in the dashboard. Anytime you add additional sites, they automatically get configured up in pre-provisioning to that specific customer. So they're already reporting together into the same VM in the cloud for the dashboard purposes. But what we've done is made it really easy to interconnect all of those because we obviously know where all the gateways are. We don't require static IP. So they're automatically reporting up, no statics required, and we know where they are physically, on the internet at all times. And it allows MSPs to go in and actually click a single click of a button to configure that site-to-site VPN together, and they automatically pull. Now you can set the primary site of where the main office location is for that point-to-point connection, but again, they all mesh together. And the site-to-site VPN as well as the hub and spoke model are already configured up automatically. So we push all the routing tables, all of the rules, and it is quite literally as easy as a click of a button.
All right. And what about things like DHCP, DNS over the VPN? So once those are set up, can you connect to all devices on the other side, or do you still have to do some configuration?
Nope, no configuration. I mean, because we're the routers at each of those sites, again, it's only between Uplevel gateways. So this only applies under the holistic, model. But yeah, because we're the DNS server and the router at all locations, or at least have visibility into it, what the DNS is set to, we push it automatically to all those VPN users.
All right, sounds easy.
Yeah, very, very easy. Very straightforward, but most importantly, allows all of those remote users, whether they're in an office, in a satellite office, at home working with a gateway, sitting behind a firewall, they can automatically connect up. So if a home user is, at the home, they log in, their computer automatically knows that it's a corporate network. They bring their corporate computer home, it automatically connects to the firewall, and then it just appears like they're already in the office. It makes things really easy. The map drives automatically work, and there's really none of that fussing around to finagle things back together for remote or distributed networks.
All right.
Yeah.
So what's number 3?
So number 3, so like I said, we've got the VPN model, we've got the remote access for MSPs, and then last but not least is going to be the QoS. So we've actually enhanced our QoS functionality and traffic shaping to allow for the ability to go in and just more finely tune what devices have what priority when reaching what applications, even specific IP addresses that they would have prioritized traffic over, in what order those rules are applied. So just a much finer tune of traffic shaping and QoS management for remote users, because we all know that consumer grade and residential internet is not at all the same as enterprise grade internet. And there are a lot of customers right now feeling that pain.
Right. Okay.
So this allows them to keep the kids' Netflix, on a separate priority than the corporate Zoom calls or even things like QuickBooks backups, right? Whatever the use cases might be, prioritizing them in order so that the corporation doesn't suffer based on residential ISP woes.
All right. So was this born out of the work from home initiative that all of us have gone through? And I know that you were doing the work from home kits and trying to make this really easy, really simple, and really functional for users at home. Was this all part of that?
Yeah. So it's all kind of come into the same universe, so it's not necessarily, it wasn't necessarily born out of it. So we've been committed to small businesses and distributed offices since our inception back in 2017. This has kind of been our main focus in allowing those small offices, which in the past had been, property management companies that are spread out across the nation, and logistics companies that are small but have a large physical footprint, and interconnecting all of those, right? Funny enough, the use cases just changed, but the application is still there. So we're still entirely focused on those small businesses. It's just that now that arena has broadened with work from home.
Okay. All right. Well, that all sounds like, I don't want to say small, but big changes.
Yeah.
The management only I can see is huge.
Huge.
And point-to-point VPN, what's funny is I never thought about making it as easy as point and click, because I'm so used to doing it on my Sonic walls that I don't know if I can do it blindfolded, but.
Yeah, I mean, most people can, but as the vendor, we have visibility into all of it. So why not make it that easy?
Right.
Because if you can free up your time, even if you can do it blindfolded and for an hour, it's an hour that you're not playing with port forwarding of your numbers, or, so there are other things that you could be doing with your time and just freeing up those little things, right? It's the same thing around, any little innovations that we've seen in homes and offices over the years. They seem fairly simple, and yet they save so much time.
Okay. So you mentioned port forwarding and configuring. Now that I have a new phone system, and the thought of me switching out my Sonic wall to put the Uplevel in, how easy is it going to be for me to configure my phones and stuff like that?
You don't have an on-site server, do you? It's all cloud-based?
I have a server. I'm one of the, I'm an old dog.
That'll work too. I mean, it's very easy. So we have a VoIP tab. I don't actually recall if Intermedia is on that tab, but if not, it's very easy to set up.
You actually have vendors as options inside that tab?
Yeah, we do.
I didn't see that last time.
Yeah, so under the VoIP tab, there's a drop down. So the first option is cloud-based, obviously. And then we have a list of about 5 to 7 VoIP vendors that you can go and select. So it automatically hooks up all of the port forwarding rules, sets any sort of, specific configurations that those servers require, and does it all automatically.
We should have talked about that before I went with Intermedia.
Well, I mean, it's now still an option. We will work. I've never seen a phone vendor that we don't work with. Some are a bit finickier than others, but there hasn't been one that we couldn't configure together.
All right. Well, when I set this up, I'll look at the list and I'll probably give you a call.
Yeah, again, if only you knew someone in the company.
I knew somebody that can help me.
Yeah, no, phones are very easy with us. We make it really, really simple and straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we should probably have done this at the beginning for new listeners or new viewers that watch this who don't know what Uplevel Systems is. We should probably have done that at the beginning.
We should probably start from the beginning.
Yeah. No, we talk about the appliance, and it's touted as the all-in-one appliance for small businesses. So,
right. So let's start there.
Yes.
Yeah. So like I said, we came to market back in 2017 as the all-in-one solution for small businesses. And we've really, again, focused on that and really expanded that. But that's still our primary focus. And we really focus on, when I say small business, I really mean, anywhere around the 100 employee or less per location mark. Obviously, work from home, solo homes and home offices are certainly in that grouping. So that certainly fits into our wheelhouse, which is why you'll hear me talk about it quite a bit. But that's not at all, our main focus. Our main focus is really small businesses and making it really easy, number one, for them to get set up with IT infrastructure. And I mean that both in the infrastructure sense, but also the business model sense. So you'll see that kind of through all levels of our company. We make deploying to small businesses simple. We reduce kind of all of the random things that you typically have to configure in IT infrastructure that just consume time. And with a small business as an MSP, your biggest hurdle is going to be the time. How much time does it take you to service that small business? And the kind of back and forth that you'll play around how much to charge them, how much they can afford as a small business, and then how much time does it take you and when is it worth it? This is certainly some levers that MSPs are constantly having to pull because budgets are usually fairly tight in small businesses as opposed to large enterprises. And MSPs certainly aren't giving their time away for free, right? So this is the playing ground. But like I said, we make it very easy to deploy to small businesses. We make the billing very simple. There's no kind of ifs, ands, or buts around it. It's very straightforward as far as the costs go. That cost, as I mentioned before, we did introduce a hardware purchase program, though we came to market with a subscription program. So that is still 99% of our business is subscribing to equipment where the hardware is included, the software is included, the licenses, the warranties, the support, all of it's included. So there's no kind of weird, you didn't renew this, but that going on. Make that very simple. And then last but not least is provide exceptional support to our MSPs, because we know that, when things don't go right, and they won't, you need someone to call on, especially if you're sitting in front of a customer. Things need to get resolved quickly.
Yeah, that customer support's pretty important.
Yeah. So that's really how we came to be. And then, as a holistic model, we do offer a firewall. It is, you'll hear me refer to it as a gateway, but it is a firewall with a lot of other features included in it. Like I mentioned, the Active Directory functionality, and QoS and all that good stuff. So there's a lot in there. But it's also a hybrid solution between the cloud and on-prem.
So we can't call it a full-fledged UTM, right?
Correct. We don't do antivirus or email spam checking.
Because really, that was probably when you and I first spoke, that was probably the one comment that, well, it's not a UTM, but you're not trying to pretend to be a UTM, so.
Correct. And I mean, especially with small businesses, they're typically using, Best Buy equipment or any sort of consumer grade infrastructure, which is great for those use cases. But the reason that they don't go to a full-fledged, FireEye firewall is the cost, number one, and the complexity, number two. So they need something with security. It does have a lot of security built into it. It is a rock solid firewall, but without a lot of, or some of the bells and whistles that add to the cost and complexity.
Well, and a lot of MSPs, if we're doing MSP stuff, we have other solutions for DNS filtering. We have other solutions for web protection. So all of that is in there. But in terms of what this device offers, you mentioned the directory services. It does have, dual WAN, load balancing. It's got Wi-Fi integration.
Wi-Fi switching. VLANing.
The site-to-site VPNs we talked about, now the client VPN also. So there is an option to where if you're not doing a full appliance at the house, you can still do a client VPN. And if I remember, that was pretty simple too. Yeah,
correct. Very, very simple. Quite literally create usernames and passwords. And again, we'll do all of the firewall rules. You can specify what VLAN that they want access to. There are intra-firewall VLAN. Sorry, I'm saying this wrong. Inter-VLAN firewalls. That's how I meant to say it. Applied, so you can specify which VLAN that you want them a part of, and they don't have access to the other VLANs when they're VPNing in and all of that good stuff. So there's certainly advanced functionality in the firewall. It's not, like I said, it's not a lightweight piece of equipment. It has a gig throughput on the stateful firewall, so it's fairly robust, very reliable. We have a less than 2% failure rate in the field, which is exceptional for hardware vendors. So it's certainly not a lightweight piece of equipment. We also do geo-blocking as well as domain filtering. There is an IPS IDS built into the gateway. So the real main thing that we get asked a lot about is antivirus, if it's built into the gateway.
Right. Okay. All right. I was just trying to quickly go through my notes because I don't know, did you hear the episode that I had with, I can't find his name. I should have written it down here. The gentleman out of Louisiana.
David Yarmond.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you hear that?
I did, but don't ask me what you said. That was like 3 months ago, right? It was a while ago.
That's why I didn't have it at the top of my tip of my tongue there. But, yeah, it was episode 296, comparing stacks.
Okay.
3 months ago. So
yeah.
Strix, Louisiana, basically they are a full-fledged Uplevel system shop. So that was somebody I can get on to basically back up all of the claims that you guys have.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, David's a fantastic person. We love having him as a partner, right? It's a two-way street. So we love our partners and we hope they love us, but we certainly appreciate so many of them and them being able to work with us and everything. He's certainly had some interesting issues over the years. He's been a partner of ours for several years now, with several large deployments and large customers and a whole slew of interesting issues. I can't tell you the number of times that we've gotten on support calls that are several hours long and certainly gone through issues. But yeah,
what I remember outside of some other stuff with stacks and MSP stuff, but when we were talking about the Uplevel systems, the fact that he said that he has these in large clients, and that was a question I asked you early on, where I've got some decent sized law firms that we need to make sure this isn't one of those mom and pop type firewalls.
No. Yeah. Like I say, we spec out the equipment or really design the features around the 100 employee mark. So when I talk about small businesses and consumer grade equipment, I'm not really talking about 1 or 2 person employee offices. Though work from home is certainly applicable right now, we're really talking about 100 person plus or minus offices, and we have several partners that have over 600 devices connected to a single gateway. So it's not necessarily a quote small piece of equipment.
All right. So good thing there. All right. So I think we've covered everything. I didn't have notes, so I don't know when we're ending. So was that everything?
Yeah, I mean, those are the 3 big things on in our release that's coming out. So we're really excited about it just because it really expands kind of the ease of distributed networks. Okay. And though we're hoping this vaccine news means some sort of sense of normalcy will come back, what I have a feeling is going to happen is we're going to continue to see employees requesting to work from home, and offices looking at ways to reduce expenses in infrastructure and corporate offices, right? So
yeah, I had one of my law firms. They actually, what's the best way to describe it? I'll just say it like it is. They lost a couple of employees because they would not allow them to work from home. And I don't know the full situation. I don't know if it was a full-time deal or if it was, a secretary that wanted to work from home, but they only allow attorneys. But they lost some people because they would not allow that as an option. I think that that's going to change businesses over the next few years.
I couldn't agree more. I, just in my circle of other corporate employees, I have several recruiter friends, and one of their companies previously, before COVID, did not have a work from home policy, which was fine. Though they are a unnamed company that is publicly traded and worth over $1 billion, right? This isn't a small company at all, right? They don't have they didn't have a work from home policy. And she's saying that as soon as COVID hit, that essentially what happened was people would apply to jobs knowing that they weren't in the city, but assuming that they were work from home, just that was going to be the new normal, and asking why they were requesting that people relocate still. If you're, going to be working from home, at least right now, why relocate, number 1? And number 2, it saves the company a lot of money, in paying relocation fees. So I think we're going to see this both on the small and the very, very large scale, for it just kind of being a new, I guess, perk, if you will. But
I don't even know if it's a perk anymore. It's almost a must-have. And when you and I spoke back in November, I remember we had this conversation about what's the landscape going to be. And, I've got firms that when we talked about the work from home kits, and without saying prices, without anything like that, we talked about doing this for them. This was a no.
Yeah.
Because they did not want to spend the cost to securely work from home. And just, to clarify, that was, putting in an appliance in an attorney's home. Whereas now I'm dealing with a client that we're looking at implementing something like TrueGrid, which, and I'm not, this is their price on the website, where we're talking $12 per person per month. And they're balking at that. And I'm like, okay, if you want secure remote VPN access, you're going to have to pay for it, which is a lot less than physical office space for somebody.
Well, yeah, and I think this is a weird time right now. We're certainly in this kind of mushy area where companies a lot of times still have their, corporate leases. It's going to take a while for those to kind of trickle out. We are seeing a lot of companies who leases are coming up right now are either downsizing, moving, or just getting rid of it. So that is certainly happening, but it's taking a bit, because as you have that lease still on your books, the additional burn makes it a bit painful.
Right.
Now, as those leases continue to move and shift and change over time, I won't at all be surprised if part of that budget gets moved to infrastructure in one form or another, right? Whether it be paying for employees' internet access, whether it be paying for, security for that, regardless of what industry they're in, whether it be setting up their home offices, because you've got to remember the average company, and these are just ballpark numbers, spends about $500 a month per employee, all in on office space and, equipment and snacks and all of that fun stuff. So it makes perfect sense that, in saving money, they'll have to spend a bit more, but in places that they hadn't before. But this is certainly just a weird time of, people not knowing if it's permanent or transient.
All right. So in your estimation, and I don't know how much you know into the, financials or the units, going out the door, but has there been this surge for, the work from home appliances in a sense? Like, do you see that shift, and do you think it's going to be permanent?
Yeah. So the shift, absolutely. We've certainly seen a shift into MSPs looking for solutions for their customers requesting more support at home, right? In a space that MSPs usually didn't go. What tends to be a bit weird is companies attempting to figure out, do I send company infrastructure home with them? Do I supply them with a computer and a printer like I normally would in the office? Or do I have the employee get that for themselves? Because it'll now be both personal and corporate use. So there's some ambiguity still happening here of companies trying to figure out what fits best into their model. And most importantly, how do they recoup it when employees leave? But we're certainly seeing a huge shift into the questions and the equipment that's being shipped home, and what companies are looking for as far as their holistic infrastructure. Servers are certainly moving away. Cloud-based is certainly here to stay, right? So all those things are certainly kind of trending in that direction.
All right. And how much of it is the managed service provider, the IT solution provider versus their clients? Like, how many MSPs, percentage wise or number wise, do you think has made a change?
Like, what's pushing versus pulling?
Yeah.
I think it is at least 50% MSPs pushing.
Okay.
Right. And this was happening before COVID, of MSPs pushing to cloud-based services and having a bit more of a distributed infrastructure. But I think now more than ever, customers are starting to pull. They're starting to require that their infrastructure be compatible so that employees can work from anywhere, so that if someone wants to go on a vacation and hang out there a bit longer, go visit grandma, whatever it is, they can do so and continue to work, and they're not necessarily taking 3 weeks off. Now they can take 3 days off and then work the rest of the time.
Okay. So you do see that as 50-50. That was kind of what I wanted to get a gauge. And how many MSPs themselves have changed. I know that,
Yeah.
I know several buddies of mine who have basically sent their workers home, and they don't expect to come back to the office because they're doing this. So
Yeah.
how much of what you guys have done has gone to support, the IT providers?
Like internal IT?
Yeah.
Yeah. So to go back to the MSPs for a second, I think before COVID, we were probably looking at like a 60-70% MSPs pushing to move to the cloud and change services, but for a very different reason. And now it's slowly becoming, small businesses and big businesses changing infrastructure because they see, this kind of imminent doom of what happens if you've got to do it all of the sudden. Number one, we're still, even with a vaccine prospect here, the fear of this happening again in the next year or two is very imminent. So the fear of having to, flip-flop back and forth is still there. As far as IT professionals internally, we're seeing a lot of MSPs work together with those IT professionals because the IT internal departments are not equipped to handle multiple locations, right? Their wheelhouse is creating a walled garden, if you will, for their employees and nothing ever leaving, right? So they control everything within and they're within their confines. And MSPs are really helping to support those IT professionals, if nothing else, with the labor and support, and then being able to slightly outsource some of the tech calls, right? And troubleshooting issues that have happened in the home scenarios, just because it's a very different landscape than what internal IT is used to. So for that, yes. As far as whether or not they're moving to actually fund infrastructure changes and work from home, yeah. I talked to a very large company earlier today, their MSP, and they went and outfitted, they had over 800 employees that they had to move out of a single office. And at least half of them had a firewall at home by the end of August.
Okay, that's pretty significant. Yeah.
So we're certainly seeing the trend move that way. I mean, again, it depends on the company size. It depends on how serious they are, what their business model is. The nice thing about our infrastructure is the fact that there is a month-to-month model. So for anyone that's kind of in this weird space of I need something now, but I don't want to invest, it's a really good solution to give them the flexibility for things to change again. Because as much as we want to say that we have a crystal ball and we know what this is going to look like in 6 months, none of us do. So having the extra flexibility is
we thought we'd be done with this 6 months ago. So
I remember when the prospect of August as the vaccine was just a laughing stock, right? Where everyone was like, we'll have it by then. Of course. August? What? Yeah. Here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
So, there are a lot of people saying that it won't be until 2022 that we'll kind of get back to normal.
It'll be interesting. And all I'm hoping is that my customers just keep paying.
Yeah, certainly. We're certainly hoping that the wheels didn't come off the bus during all of this, and we can kind of hit the throttle again once the vaccine.
Well, we've got two things. We've got the vaccine and we've got winter.
Right.
So if we can get through winter, kind of, either where we are now or a little below, then I think we'll be fine. It's just what happens January, February, when the rest of the country is freezing cold.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, certainly I worry about restaurants in Chicago and New York, right? Where here in Texas, we can at least stay open and put out a space heater and we'll be fine.
Yeah, sit outside
yeah, you can still sit outside. And so even if they shut down indoor dining, there's still a bit of an option, and, we'll make do. In the meantime, it's not horrendous, but up in Chicago and New York, that's just not enough. You can't sit out. I don't care what kind of space heater you have, 14-degree weather, 3 feet of snow. It's not pleasant. So, I worry about those restaurants. And the
closest I'm going to get to finding that out is in the mountains of Georgia.
There you go. Well, hopefully not that bad, but
hopefully
I'll
not.
Back from Chicago in a few weeks, let you know how it is.
Really?
Yeah, we've got to transport a car, so it'll be a joyful car drive. Oh yes.
A little side business you got going?
No, an elderly family member who.
Oh, okay.
There's a car situation, so not only will I be up in Chicago, I will be driving from Texas to Chicago, which is about 24 hours.
Oh, that's fun.
It'll be a blast. So.
Be fun at all. All right. So, wow, that was a big left turn, wasn't it?
No, but I love these conversations. I mean, trying to figure out where this is going and how businesses are going to acclimate to the new normal is really what we're here to try to help with.
Well, and your business is actually kind of in the middle of that. You have a solution that can help, people out. So,
Mhm.
being able to send a firewall to somebody's house that will automatically configure back to the office, that,
Mhm.
that's an easy thing. You
And
know, what-
it doesn't make sense to send high power firewalls to everyone's office for the time and the money, right? It'll take a lot of time to configure all that up, even the VPNs, and it'll cost a lot to just purchase the firewall.
well, it's not just that too. It's also the fact that, being able to control the environment
Mhm.
from that remote connection. You know, just
Right.
like you were talking to people. So I had a conversation, I think it was yesterday, where the principal attorney,
Mhm.
older gentleman, and he and his wife run the business. And they're in a situation now, it's been whatever, 9 months, and they're trying to figure out, okay, we got to do this for a few more months.
Right.
And, we may not get people back after the holidays unless we have a solution. So
Right.
now they're asking for a list of system specs and requirements of what people need to have to work from home.
Yeah.
And it's that, that whole thing of what power a computer, how much RAM, what speed
Mhm.
of internet. And it's like, you can't do this for everybody because everybody's home is going to be different.
The wiring is going to be different. What the ISP will even give you is going to be different.
Well, yeah. And then people who are working off of Wi-Fi,
Mhm.
from their bedroom when their firewall and router is in the garage,
Right.
1,000 feet on the other side of the house. I mean, there's all those scenarios
Yeah.
that we can't control.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was actually just talking to someone today about, why historically MSPs have stayed as far away from the home as possible, right? Why they very rarely went and made home calls and help with those networks, but just because, offices have their issues, homes have so many more issues, right? The wiring in them is different. It's not standardized. It depends on, the time of day. Consumer internet isn't the same. An internet issue with a consumer, ISP link can easily go 3 or 4 days without being answered. That doesn't happen really in enterprise. It can, but less likely, right? That's kind of commonplace. So there's just a lot of these different issues that MSPs, you know, they can't perform the way that they have come to expect with enterprise, right? It's
Right.
just a different model.
Yep.
It's very different. There are very different issues, and it's difficult. So having solutions that ease that pain and allow them to still have control while not having to get on the phone with Comcast or Spectrum for hours at a time and mitigate all those issues is what we're here to try to help with.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you for hanging out tonight. And I do want to say this is a lot better than when you were on the balcony.
Even though the sun went down and it didn't even occur to me to turn on the other light.
And I'm sitting there thinking, finally, somebody's darker than me.
I know, here I am. I'm trying to turn up my computer brightness so that there's at least a bit of light in front of me. But yeah, anyways,
All
well,
right. Most
like I
people
said,
won't watch the video. They'll be listening to audio, and so they won't notice.
perfect. Yeah. As I was telling Marvin before the show, I'm down to my last desk here in the house because everywhere else, the office and everywhere is turned into the wrapping room that no one else is allowed to go into until I'm done. So we're down to just a few flat surfaces here.
Yep. So the wife has already gone up to Georgia, taken all the presents. So her wrapping room used to be the home office. That's where all the stuff is.
Yeah.
And, the rest of the house is intact, except for the Christmas tree where the cats have now taken ownership underneath the tree.
Oh, goodness gracious. As long as they don't take ownership of the glass ornaments, that's all I ask.
They've been good. They have been very good with that, but it's just for some reason they just. And this was the first year they've done that. We've been in this house. This will be 7 years.
Oh, wow.
7 Christmases, and this is the first year they've done that. It's just they're cats, they just they're
They
idiots.
have no reason. They report to nobody.
Mhm.
I know it well.
All right.
Well,
So you have been on the show enough that usually I will ask you if you have a story to go up against Florida Man, but we didn't expect to go this long.
We didn't. Yeah, certainly stopping late. Starting
But
late.
you do look like you got excited there. Like, did you have a story?
No, but I just recalled I should have written it down. Or something that happened like a week ago that made me think of it.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't write it down. But anyways, what is your Florida Man story for this week?
Well, so I have, basically what I do is I have the list of headlines and I wait to see what the opposing story is before I pick one.
Right.
But why don't we do this one? So, attackers barge into home, cut hair of Jacksonville mom.
Oh, wow. Well, that's certainly interesting.
Yeah. And so the story has pictures of her with her cut hair. And basically, the pictures are of her with her cut hair after an attack by strangers in her Ortega Hills home last Thursday. I have a concussion and then one of my eardrums is ruptured. The back of my head is so damaged right now that it feels like squishy to feel.
Oh gosh.
So
That sounds painful.
and here's the thing. They broke in, didn't steal anything. Only the scissors that they cut her hair with.
Well, that's interesting.
So
How bizarre.
break in, beat somebody up, cut the hair, and take the scissors.
Oh, goodness gracious. That is kind of crazy. I have a real story that happened to us.
Okay, that's real.
Well, I should say a story of my own. We had and I don't know how this happened, but we had a tire blown out on a car. Went in to take the car, obviously to get the tire replaced and get a new one.
Right.
And and there was another tire that had a nail in it. So we were like, replace both of them, clearly get it fixed. And they replaced one of the new tires that we had purchased like a month ago. Now there are 3 new tires on the car and 1 bad one still with a nail in it. And I just have so many questions about how.
Let me guess. Did they rotate them and then change the wrong one after the rotation?
I have no idea, but they tried to tell us that they replaced both of them on the right-hand side. Sorry, on the driver's side. And I was like, well, that's funny because the blowout was on the passenger side. And I mean, this thing was shredded. Like it had a hole in it. Probably you can't even tell, but it was massive hole.
Do you have pictures?
Clearly was not a good tire. And I was like, there's no way you replace the driver's side. That happened on the passenger side. Like how? What language are we speaking here?
Wow, that's where you go in with pictures ahead of time and say, okay, this is what you're fixing.
Right.
Let's check the before and the afters.
Right, exactly. I'm just like,
oh my.
How in the world? But anyways, we still have 1 tire that's going flat slowly.
Wow.
Anyways.
And they won't do right and just,
I have since stepped out of it and let the men handle it, but yeah,
it's not going to get done.
There's communication happening, I've been told. So
it's not going to be done. You're spending another $150 for that last tire.
I just have so many questions.
So, okay, so wait a minute. I'm sorry, I'm dissecting the story.
No, that's okay.
So you replaced 2 new ones previously.
So about a month ago, we took it in for an oil change. The tread was going bad, so we replaced 2 tires on the car, right? Then, 2 weeks later, maybe, one of the bad ones, or older, it was fine, but it was older, had a nail in it, and it was like a hooked nail, so it bled air.
Do you normally change two tires at a time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Usually just because the wear on them's even. And so if one of them's going bad and then you want them to be, symmetric across the car so that you don't get weird stuff with your shocks and
you have 2-wheel drive or something?
It's 4-wheel drive.
Oh. So I just do all 4 at the same time. I don't want to
Yeah, we drive down a lot of like rocky roads, and so they just don't wear even.
Where do you live out in the country? I thought you lived right outside of Houston.
Austin. We also have a place out on the lakes. It's about 45 an hour from here. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Dirt roads.
Dirt
Wow.
roads. Yeah. The whole line. It's a little bit of a drive, but yeah. Anyways, tire issues. But I will take that over someone busting in, stealing scissors, cutting hair, smashing heads.
Yeah.
Any day.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being on the show, Robin. We will, we're going to have to be back on again because I got to
We will.
What happens with the new appliance.
We've got some more stuff to talk about. We'll have some more exciting announcements coming out early next year. So we can
early, like January early?
Like, yeah. Not too far after the new year, early.
A month away.
I know, right?
I'll have to send the box back by then. You got to send me the thing.
We'll work on that. We'll work on that time.
All right.
All right.
So let me cue up the show ending here and get us ready to get out. Robin, thank you very much. Thank you for, I was going to say staying up late, but you're behind me in time. So
yeah, not that bad.
Even though it is dark there, so you're not too far behind.
It is dark all of a sudden.
All of a sudden. The curtain came down. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this episode. I will have the link to Uplevel Systems in the show notes, both on the Podnuts Pro website, as well as the YouTube video that we're going to put up. We'll also have the link to the partner program. So if you have questions and want to look into getting an Uplevel appliance, reselling this to your customers, I'll have the link there, and you can go and sign up for that. I probably should have said this earlier, but I know that we are basically getting to the middle of December. There will be additional shows to close out this month, and there are probably going to be 3 shows. We are going to do a show each Wednesday. I will have a special show next week. We're going to have a holiday show, and then a very special show with my good friends, Mike Smith and Paco LeBron.
Love it.
Between Christmas and New Year. So you'll want to pay attention for those and learn some more tips and share stories and learn about products to help you support your business. So that is going to do it for this episode. I want to thank my good friend Robin for hanging out, and we'll be back.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, holla.